I live at 6108 Old Allegan Road, Saugatuck, Michigan. And I'm commenting in support of Aaron and his position. Several years ago, I was dismissed from a jury trial of a young man who, if convicted, faced mandatory incarceration. No options for the sentencing judge. When asked if I had any problem with this, I said yes, because prison seemed to me to be more about retribution than rehabilitation. Obviously, Aaron's alleged offenses are not remotely related to my moral position, but my moral position is the same. If it's possible for a person through admonishment, education, training, and support to correct their behavior and continue to serve, this should be the preferred alternative over punishment. I believe the trustees, the former trustees, made the correct judgment the first time around. While I don't always agree with Aaron's decision, my personal experience has been uniformly positive. I am greeted by name, have my questions and concerns dealt with expeditiously, even when it interrupted his other work. We worked together on a committee to update our ordinance around the fracking issue. He was well informed about our ordinance and the change process, and I appreciated his work along with the township lawyer to prepare the language, which was ultimately approved, giving us much greater control if fracking does come our way. At this point, you, the board, are facing a steep learning curve, and I have no doubt that you will succeed in climbing it. But it doesn't make much sense to me to remove the one person who has the most detailed and intimate knowledge of the township's operations just when you need those insights the most. Finally, I want to congratulate you all on your victory. While I did not agree with recall as a solution, now that it has happened, I really want you to be successful in administering our township's affairs. Now that it has happened, recognize that you are each confronted with one of the same issues you ran against, and that's block voting. For a year, you ran as a group, planning together, working together, supporting each other. Now your challenge will be to think, act, and serve independently. Will you now be able to debate, disagree openly, and vote as individuals, or will you feel so indebted to your colleagues that honest debate and possibly voting in opposition will be near impossible, even if you feel called to do so? We probably won't learn much tonight, because I'm guessing you will decide this in closed session, but I do hope the votes will be made public. You'll have many important decisions like this going forward, and I really do wish you all the best. Thank you.
Question votes, so allowed. Next.
Jane Dickey, and I live at the same address as Larry, 6108 Old Allegan Road, Saugatuck, Michigan. It's been a long road to the place that we're at right now. And one of the things that I think is very important as we struggle in this society as a whole, not to demonize people, but to see them fully as full human beings with their flaws and their gifts. That we try in this township at least to do that kind of thing. That we have a democracy in which people openly express disagreements when they have them, and then we can work through the solutions. Democracy is messy, it takes time. But it's going to be very, very important for me as I watch henceforth that people speak why they do the things they do. One of my concerns with the last township board was that often people would say not a word and then vote. All the decisions had happened behind the scenes. We didn't know why they made the decisions they did because they didn't tell us why they made the decisions they did. So we were deprived of the opportunity to see what the wrestling was and what the struggle and disagreements were. I also know that boards that are diverse and that bring diverse points of view make the best decisions. I think you are that kind of board. I think you can make good decisions, but only if you allow for disagreement and allow that disagreement to lead to better conversations, better decisions. As to Aaron, Aaron has always, although we didn't always agree on things, been the kind of person who openly told me exactly what he thought. And I appreciate that. I do believe temperament matters, but it is not everything. And I also know that we often, as we watch somebody, are tempted to put an attribution, some internal attribution. That person is dishonest, that person is corrupt, that person is whatever, when in fact it's a situational thing. Situations shape the way people behave much more strongly than so-called personality. I'm speaking as a psychologist now. There's a big body of research on this. So create the situations that allow people to be honest, that honor disagreement, and allow the best decisions to come forward. And I hope personally, that Aaron will be given the opportunity to continue to serve this township in the best possible way, that he'll live in a situation in that office that is welcoming and encouraging and also helps people to be their best selves. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the second row. Anybody like to speak?
Roy McElwain, is that working?
Yeah, just go with this, Roy.
Roy McElwain, 3466 Riverside Drive, Saugatuck Township, former Saugatuck trustee. I address you tonight as a person who's had 6 years of experience sitting behind your table as you are now. The time for political slogans has ended. Reality says you're dealing with an issue, Aaron Sheridan, that affects the day-to-day workings of this township. You're also dealing with two people who have each had over 15 years of experience with the actual day-to-day workings of this township. 3 of you are brand new to this position, to the board. My experience tells me you have to understand what a person does in their position and what the job duties are. Mr. Rourke and Mr. Wester have that knowledge. Please listen to their counsel. Now, to the people side of this issue. Having had the pleasure of working with both Lori and Aaron for 6 years on township issues, I can say without hesitation that both individuals are unique in their loyalty to this township and are very good at doing their jobs. I know this is where some people tonight will disagree with me, but I would only ask them one question. Have you worked with either individual on a specific issue, or have you heard the stories published in a local newspaper that has an agenda and to whom facts do not matter? Our township manager has brought us to fiscal solvency since the McClendon days. Our audits have been very good. Aaron and Lori know their jobs and deserve to be recognized for their work, not demonized. I urge all of you to take a deep breath, look at these individuals as people and not objects. Not one of you sitting in front of me knows how to perform the position of clerk, treasurer, and/or township manager. Please have the wisdom to create a win-win situation for Lori and Aaron and this township tonight. Put politics aside and do what makes sense for keeping this township running smoothly. Compromise is not a dirty word. I will leave you with a question that needs to be answered during this meeting. Will the new clerk and treasurer be in the office 5 days a week, full-time, if they are being paid based on 40 hours, as were Brad and Lori? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? The next row?
I have copies.
Yes, thank you, Roy.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you maybe pass those on?
If you'd state your name and address.
I will. I guess I have to turn this. Okay. My name is Becky Israels, and I live at 3447 Palmer Drive in the township. So I appreciate the opportunity to welcome a new board to the township this evening. And I could address some of these issues over several hours, but I know I only have 3 minutes. So I'd just like to say that I appreciate your comments about working with Aaron. I've had the same experience in my last year. And you all ran on a platform of transparency. And I would just like to suggest to you a few things as you move forward. Transparency involves decision-making, and that always means looking at the big picture. If you're thinking of changing staffing hours, ask yourself if it meets the needs of the township or does it meet your personal needs. How do you know if it meets the township needs if you haven't involved people in the decision-making? I would like to know how you intend to involve this community in all your decision-makings if one does not sit on a board or reside on a committee. If you're changing benefits, which are very expensive, did you do an overall comprehensive benefit analysis of what you have to offer and a comparison analysis to other communities our size? I would hesitate to provide health benefits to anyone who works less than 32 hours a week in our changing healthcare world today. Benefits include PTO, bereavement, and many other things. Does everyone get the same benefits regardless of their position time requirements? It's also very important to look at your staffing. Can a job be performed off-site? We have a new position open here as a ZBA. Can it be combined with something else to decrease staffing and staffing hours? I hesitate to combine positions with someone in the immediate neighboring communities because of perceived conflicts of interest. But a combination position or job share may be of benefit. If you're changing positions within the township, did you do an overall comprehensive position analysis based on township needs? Did you ask yourself what positions are absolutely essential? What expertise do we need in the future based on our future projections? And what are we willing to give up in order to get there? Do our current HR policies support our actions? That's a really critical question for me to ask you. You all have an opportunity to be really strong leaders, and strong leaders involve their constituents to make decisions. They make good decisions based on policy, and they convey those decisions appropriately. I urge you to use a systems group that offers current policies related to employment law, so we can have employment policies that make sense. Thus, they're legal and reduce legal expenses by having attorneys construct or review those policies. A system like ADP or something, maybe you will find that expensive, but try it for a year and the resource is well worth it. I am dismayed that we have salaried positions defined by hourly work with paid lunch time. You need to clearly understand the concept of exempt and non-exempt categories and define them for our township folks and for all of you. And finally, please get leadership training. I would suggest you use an appreciative inquiry approach to decision making. As I kind of exampled above, appreciative inquiry is looking at what we do best, how do we want to get there, and what are we willing to give up in order to get there. For using that, when you use an approach like that, you do involve your community. I do not recommend jumping into major decisive action without due diligence for your first 4 to 6 months in office. You will make many mistakes, but if you involve the community, we will make mistakes and good decisions together. And it's a short period of time, but it's so worth it for all of you in the long run. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else from that row like to speak? Next row.
Becky?
Yes, sir. Just state your name and address, please.
Patrick Stewart, 3212 Fox Ridge Court. Boy, it's hard to follow all of that. I don't know Aaron well. I've been here 7 years. In my experience, Aaron has been friendly, cooperative, helpful. In the board meetings, he's always been knowledgeable, prepared, and cooperative. I've often thought of him as the database of the township. You know, you want to know something, you go to Aaron. You want to get something done, you go to Aaron. Every person makes big mistakes in their work and their lives. Everyone has interchanges with people they regret. It's how a person reacts, how a person learns and grows from those mistakes that matters in life. Aaron has hung in there. He's done the work, he's taken the heat for his mistakes. I believe the vitriol surrounding Aaron's mistakes is disproportionate and inappropriate. It's a sign of the times that someone has to be the lightning rod in a dispute. Aaron, I'm sorry you had to go through this. If Aaron leaves the service of the township, it's the board's choice to handle it. I hope that you choose to do it in a way that allows a smooth transition, allows for some assimilation of the 15 or so years of information he has, of his knowledge, allows the time to find the right person for the job, and allows for appropriate consideration for his years of service to the township. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Keep it.
Yes. Rich, you want to come up front? We can hear better. Are you okay back there? Okay.
Charlotte Stewart, 3212 Box Ridge Court, with Patrick, and it's out Old Allegan Road. A little bit different aspect I'd like to talk about is communication with Aaron I've had for a period of probably 4 to 5 years and over 3 different supervisors about the need for high-speed internet out on Old Allegan and the east part of the, excuse me, the township. He's always been patient and professional, sometimes telling me nothing could be done, which I didn't like to hear. This year, cable companies have finally started surveying the area, and Aaron is the one who's worked with them. He's knowledgeable. He knows what's going on, and I hope it can continue, but with his experience. He's worked with them, and I think this reason I mention this type of issue is it's one that needs to transition and be considered in continuing his position for the benefit of the township, not for individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else from that row? Anybody from the next row? The row after that? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Andrew Diaz, 6505 Riverside Road. I am also a member of the Saugatuck Township Parks Commission and have worked directly with Aaron Sheridan, and I can speak to the professionalism that we received from him. Anytime we needed questions, he was always there to give us answers in a timely manner and get us what we needed so we can do what we need. On a different note, that's just the professional part from my experiences. I'm also hoping that as a board that we don't make a decision that will divide us even more when this is the time that we really need to come together as a township, in my opinion. So I just hope that we can make a decision. I truly believe he is the right man for the job to help segue the transition because he is very knowledgeable. 15 years of experience is not easily replaced. So thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Andy. Anybody else in that row? If you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Searing. I live at 6787 Old Garden Road, and I too am on the Park Commission. I'm the chairman of the Park Commission. I wanted to tell you a brief story. A number of years ago, Aaron and I went to a county with the road commission. It was a discussion about the Blue Star Trail. There were folks from Casco and Ganges Township there. They both supported the trail, but they were not interested in committing any funds to the maintenance of the trail. Aaron looked at the situation and he realized he had a group that was willing to put up hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this trail and subsequently even a sinking fund to support the maintenance. Aaron stepped forward and said, "We want this in the township." Aaron had the courage to step forward when the other townships wouldn't. He knew he was going to take a lot of heat for it, and he did. And I feel like he deserves more credit than he's received for that particular effort alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else from that row?
Best to leave that down.
Yeah, we'll just
My name is John Adams. I live at 2222 Lakeshore Drive in Fenville, and I am the president of the Friends of the Blue Star Trail. In that role, I've had a chance to work closely with the township for a couple of years and with Aaron Sheridan. It's but one perspective, but I know you face tough decisions as you launch your new positions, and I think all the information is important to hear. It probably is a time to look forward as we move away from the election, and as we move forward, I want to share with you a couple of attributes of the city manager that I found to be extremely important from the perspective of someone trying to advance a major parks program for the community. Number one is the willingness to get involved. A lot of people in other communities will support it, give voice to it, but not many people roll up their sleeves and really get involved to help get it done. In the case of the township, that clearly has been the case. Also, a city manager that brings strong local knowledge. Someone else mentioned that. Some of this is technical knowledge, you know, where the pipes are and the right-of-ways and that kind of thing. But maybe even more important are the people knowledge. The trail's going by that person's house. You know, I know that person. I'm going to go talk to them. Or maybe we can get an easement from the church and we can save a lot of money for the community in building this trail. That kind of local knowledge of the people and the willingness to go out and reach out to them, people he often knows, is extremely important, and I hope always would be part of the manager position. And the last thing, just to keep it brief, is true enthusiasm and commitment to the community. I was a manager in my career, and I found when you find an employee that's really committed to what they're doing, where it's really more than a job, it's a standard they set themselves, that's extremely important and difficult to duplicate. And I think we have that here in this community with Aaron. I don't envy your position at the moment. I wish you well in your current positions and congratulate you, and good luck.
Thanks, John. Anybody else from that row? Next row. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Lori Babinski, 680 F Court. I'm not a public speaker, but I wanted to say something for Aaron and the board and to our residents. This weekend I was thinking why Aaron's job was being discussed. Two things popped in my head. One, when Aaron secretly recorded a meeting. I remember that day, Aaron, Brad, and I had a discussion, meeting with the two city managers and the two city zoning administrators. Our zoning administrator couldn't attend, and I told Aaron I thought it was a bad idea for him to go alone. He said, I will just record our meeting, and I believe he did it to protect himself. I told him, do what you gotta do. I believe that it was wrong for him to do that secretly, but we're human, and we all make mistakes. Two, when Aaron and the prior supervisor got into a heated discussion in the back room here after work. That being said, I have been here since 2004, and I've seen elected officials get into heated discussions with each other, employees, and also even the public, which happened during work hours and in the front office. And no disciplinary actions were taken. Aaron has a wealth of knowledge. He works 8 to 4, 5 days a week, with a small salary. I don't ever remember Aaron missing any of the board meetings. He knows the cemeteries inside and out. I'm impressed with Aaron on all the information he can retain. He is tech savvy. He has ran this office very well. He treats everyone fair, and he has no turnovers in employees. He works well with our engineers, our contractors, Daryl at the Kalamazoo Sewer and Water Authority. But when it came to getting along with managers, other managers can be difficult. Our prior manager, Phil Quaddy, had a strained relationship with prior managers of the cities and also with Al Michigan. I believe it's not the managers at fault, it's the board and council members directing that manager, so the ball is in your court. It's all political. The township is growing. We need a full-time manager to fulfill the needs of the residents in this township. You, the board, say you want to go forward, you need to keep Aaron. He is a good person.
Thank you. Anybody else from that row, please? Please state your name and address. There you go.
I'm Sherry Mason. I reside at 1300 102nd Avenue in Plainwell. I am Saugatuck Township certified assessor of record, and I want to go on record with the new board that I know it's a rough decision when you become newly elected, but being a civil servant for over 30 years, I can tell that it's the people that work in the daily environment, the daily grind, that will get it done and make you all look really good. And you don't have that experience yet we're willing to still be here, work hard for the residents, and still be governed by the laws. And I hope that you take that into consideration, because it's not, none of these jobs, whether it's clerk, treasurer, assessor, even someone managing all the building department information, it just, the list goes on and on. And it's not done easily by one person, but a collaborative way of sharing some of those responsibilities and some of those burdens with one another. I have worked well with Lori and Aaron for 13 years now, and I've been through other government entities. And I can't say enough of their hard work and their ethics, plus their knowledge and their willingness to learn. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from that row?
Sure.
Hello, my name is Donna Leonard, 2924 Lakeshore Drive, Saugatuck, Michigan. As a little preview to what I just say, which won't be long because I don't want it to get long. I worked in the marketable securities markets in Chicago from 1968 to 81, a room of 150 people trading. If you think words weren't flown around, I learned words I never heard of before, and some that were made up. And I challenge, and daily in every minute, I learned some of them and made a few up myself. I challenge everybody in this room, think about it. Have you ever gotten angry enough to say something really angry? Think about it. Not one person in here can say that they haven't gotten angry enough to haul off on somebody. Having said that, I've known Aaron and his family for a long time, for years, they're neighbors. I'm in and out of Township Hall for one or another thing often. I have found Aaron and Lori and Brad, I must say, who nobody has mentioned yet tonight, to be very proficient in their jobs. Lori has answered kindly any questions I've asked her, even some that aren't even in her venue. She's found out for me. Aaron has done nothing but been friendly and helpful. And I know that he knows absolutely everything. When I've talked to him lately, his main concern has been the township has to run. Things have to get done, and there's all this turmoil, and how's it going to get done? I seriously believe he needs to be kept on board, because the incoming people will learn their jobs, but 15 years is a lot of experience. There are some jobs you can't just walk into and know how to do it. And as far as Lori is concerned, well, I have a little bit of Bill and I have a little joke about this. I went in the other day and I saw Lori sitting in Brad's desk training John how to do Bill's job. Hello?
Not doing this.
Lori. And I said, where's Bill? Well, they didn't know, but Bill I saw later at Dollar General, and he said he'd been in and out that day, so I don't know. Perhaps Bill. Anyhow, that wasn't actually Lori's job, and she hadn't been involved in it for years. It was Brad's job. Lori had been treasurer over in her desk, which is where John's going to go. And I'm thinking, okay, this is a little bit fruit basket upset here, but it's going to be a learning experience. Brad, of course, who the poor guy is gone, who spent wonderful years in the township of service. He is certified in his job and he has a CPA. Somebody like that was gotten rid of? Okay. That doesn't make sense to me. As a matter of fact, this whole recall doesn't really make sense to me. I know the people that are, you know, John I've known forever, which I said last time, and Stacy, and Chris, and Bill I know from before, and I don't really know you at all, but I'm hoping that you will all be fast learners because this township needs to be run. I was very confused about all the different, I saw one agenda after another for why there was a recall. There was the fire board, there was the transparency, there was the anger. I mean, it's like, will the real agenda please stand up? I don't know. I'm still not sure why there was a recall. And 27 years here and I haven't seen one. But my main purpose of wanting to speak is that I believe we should keep Erin Sheridan in there to help everybody learn their jobs and give them information. I believe that Lori Babinski should keep her job. I am very sad that Brad, who is so qualified, is not there because he could be teaching, well, either doing the job or teaching whoever's taking over how to do it. And with that, I'm done.
Great, thank you. You saved me. Anybody else from that row? Anybody in the row after that? If you could state your name and address for the record, sir.
Tony Schiffel, Saugatuck Township, 2750 Blue Star Highway. I'll make it short, brief if I can. We all know why we're here. We all know what got us to this point. We all know why you guys were elected to this board. And I want to thank you for your time and the effort that you put in to get here and the time and effort that you're going to put in working for the township. There's only one person responsible for all the things that put Aaron in his position of having to be talked about tonight is him. Let's keep that in mind. I witnessed a lot of things. I commend all these people that want to speak for Aaron. Very nice. But I'm a witness to seeing things that were not very nice. I'd like to make an offer tonight for the board, a thought, versus just flat terminating Aaron tonight. Maybe you give him a chance to write a letter of resignation. I've been in a position several times to have to let people go, being the director of the first responders years ago. I researched how do we do this. Let them write a letter of resignation. When it comes time for job search, it's easier for them to get another job versus being on their record that they've been terminated. If he doesn't want to go that route and you people find it and know that he should be terminated, terminate him. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else from that row? Anybody else in general want to speak? I can't see how far back it goes. All right. With that, I will, last call. We are not going to have any more comment the remainder of the meeting, so that's the reason, because it's going to go long. So with that, I'll close the public comment section of the agenda and move on to correspondence, of which there is none, unfinished business, of which there is none, and we'll start with our first item, A, transition of board members' compensation. I don't know who asked for that.
Oh, I think we may have legally needed to do that to continue to pay some of these people that are helping us in the transition, i.e. Lori, if she was an elected official.
Okay, so are we talking about transition of board members?
No, I would say how to compensate them.
Okay, the board members?
No. Former board.
Right.
Former board.
Okay. Does anybody else want to talk on the topic or talk about the transition of board members?
I have a question. I haven't had a chance to bring it up, but I'll just throw it out here because I've just been curious because 3 board members were elected out of office, and we were all kind of surprised how quickly we took our office the next day. So I would just like to get answers on that for the ones that did get voted out. Were they paid through Wednesday the the day after the election, or?
Yeah,
And then there's the issues of.
I can answer that. So, let's go to the background here so everybody's on the same page. Based on the law, this is rare because it never happens, in a recall election, once the vote is certified by in campus by the county, those who are in office are no longer in office. So last Wednesday at about 2 o'clock, I was the only board member. At that point, I swore in Bill Wester. I swore at him. No, I swore him in. I then asked him to swear me in, and at that point,
I was waiting, yes, I was there.
yeah. So that, I don't know if that answers the question. Now, as far as when they're paid, the constitutional salaries of these board members ended on that day. So Lori lost her your salary of $10,937 constitutional. Brad evacuated, he left, so the $10,428 disappeared. And at that point, you're now on the payroll for $10,937. And the clerk's payment is going to the bank. Does that answer that?
I think so.
Right. Do you have any more questions about it?
Are we all clear on the?
It's gonna be a bit confusing for a while. We've
Yes.
done this in 5 days, so.
Right. And then we had all been led to believe we'd take office on the 20th. It sounds like some people did know that we would take office the next day, but that was not shared with us, so it's.
I did not know that.
I didn't, I just think it's
We
a whirlwind.
found that out.
Maybe the county did, but
Yeah,
it was.
exactly. County. In fact,
It's
the county,
to everybody.
the county board of elections is who directs that.
Right.
I thought we had to do the 20th. But what happens basically is you are taking over the terms of the people that were ousted.
Right. And I started working the next day.
Right. And if you were brand new, you would have started on the 20th.
Got it.
So, in addition to these constitutional salaries, we now have, in addition to that,
Right.
for you two, we have the potential to have administrative salaries. Lori currently has an administrative salary as an employee of the township for the treasurer.
Correct. That is correct.
So that did not stop with the election.
She's still an employee.
Right.
You are right now just an elected official.
Right.
You are right now an elected
But
official.
I'm working as an employee.
No, we're all working as elected officials right now. Nobody's an employee except for Lori right now, and Aaron.
When you're in the office for a full day, that's working.
No, you're an elected official, and our employee is covered by an employment form.
The role of treasurer too. Not full-time yet, granted, but I've started that.
Right.
Okay, just being clear.
Sure. So now we have to decide sometime here what we want to do with these administrative salaries.
Correct.
Because by a vote of the board, those will be apportioned to somebody, as will benefits.
And I have decided I will not take the administrative salary of $47,000 or $49,000, nor will I take the health care package. I will take strictly the voted in.
Right.
I will also name Lori Babinski as my deputy immediately. And the compensation for her will be that. I believe Lori was collateral damage. And I believe Lori should stay on. And I have the right to name her as my deputy as I am right now. And that is not a board decision.
So if that's the case, Bill, I think when we go into closed session, we should ask if Lori would like to be a part of that, and we should maybe discuss some of these issues and see what she would like.
I agree.
And then come up with compensation, because we've got to, if that's the case, we've got to move Lori from the position you want to take and be hired for, which is the
Right.
treasurer,
Which I'm
administrator.
doing, yes.
Right, and you want to do that, we know that, we know. And then
Correct.
you're going to have to do something with your position. If you're not going to fulfill the administrator, we have to assign one.
Correct. There's still statutory things that I need to do, be here for elections and so forth and so on. And again, this is day 4 or 5 here, folks. We're trying to figure things out. This hasn't happened very often in the state of Michigan. I think that's...
So does anybody have any other questions or any clarification?
Abby?
So what you're saying is if she's appointed by you, there's no, indefinitely you can appoint her as your deputy and the board has no
Other than compensation.
Let me clarify for that. Okay. Both of you are required by law to appoint a deputy. You have to do it. I may,
That's different than what,
and I'm going to answer that question now. The deputy stays in office as long as the elected official who appointed them So in 2020, if you leave office or sooner, she would no longer be the deputy. Now, if we as a board decide to hire Lori as the administrative clerk to do the clerk's duties, which you are allowed to do, many townships do this. They have a clerk who just does the statutory, and they hire somebody to do the clerk work, kind of like cities. If you want to bring Lori on as your administrative person for the clerk, the board has to decide that. And I think we should talk about that in closed session. Just to see how that could work. So that's what has to happen. As far as that happening, we will all have to take a vote on health benefits, salaries, and those type of things in public.
So since you're referring to these matters being discussed further in closed session, just since we're not in it right now,
Right.
as Bill has done, I want to publicly declare to the public and to the full board my intention to perform all the duties of the treasurer role, including the administrative.
Okay.
Which I know you know, but I just wanted to.
I do. And so
I've said that all along through the campaign, and that's
Right.
my intention.
And I think what's important then, since you're going to be that administrative person, you need to understand the personnel policy and what's required to be classified as such.
I do.
Okay.
And I also understand the hiring policies, which you just underscored correctly, that the board hires all approves staff hiring.
That is correct.
And the administrative clerk and the administrative treasurer, if they're separate, not elected, are subject to those rules.
That's correct. Thank you for clarifying. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's move on to board appointments. We have historically here done our board appointments by advertising and asking if people want to volunteer or take on these board positions. But there are some exceptions to that. As far as, for instance, the Planning Commission, if there was an opening, I would nominate somebody as the supervisor, and you would approve if you think that's the right person. If you don't, I got to go find somebody else. Where there's an exception is when that person has to be, and I would still do it, but the board liaison has to be from the board. So if someone from the board, or two people from the board, or all of you want to be on the Planning Commission, that's something we're going to have to figure out. I don't know if we have to do that tonight. Probably not. But there are some...
I suggest we do. We said we would, because these commissions are going to start meeting very soon.
Okay, so you don't want to advertise for any of the openings on these boards?
Let me clarify, because
Good.
in my view, these are not openings per se that traditionally are advertised for. I've been concerned with the committees that appear in the 15 years I've lived here to traditionally have a board member representative. That's not advertised. That's a board rep. Now, I don't think every commission, I don't think interurban, no, I think it does. You need to tell us, we have in mind committees we would like to serve on as a board rep, not necessarily filling an open position.
Then let's take care of that tonight.
I think that's a great idea.
Do you have an interest in a position?
I would love to serve the township on the planning commission.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm going to take on the roads.
I'd like to do the fire board, please.
Okay, does anybody else want any of those other jobs?
Bill?
If that's the case, this should be simple. Let's start out with the fire board. I talked to Stacy about this, and I think she'd be an excellent representative from the township to the fire board. So I will hereby resign from the fire board, my position, because I'm going to have things to do with Cal Lake and other things. Not much, just a little bit. And so I will nominate Stacy Aldrich as our representative, and you'll be an alternate on the Board of Appeals for the Saugatuck Township Fire Board. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Let's do a roll call on these. I think for appointments, it's always a good idea.
Elmrich,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Wester, yes. Rorik,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Congratulations. Okay, the next is Planning Commission. Does somebody want to offer I'll nominate John Helmrich to be our board liaison to the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? The only thing I want to make clear is John has told me that he is no longer on the board of directors of the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance. Is that correct?
Yes, I resigned over the summer because I was running for public office.
And the reason that's important is it would present a conflict of interest on matters brought before you on the planning commission where you would have to recuse yourself and may not be as
As far as I
effective.
know, I have no need to recuse on any other issue, but you know, things come up. You never know.
Right.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Bigford.
Yes.
Lester, yes. Rorik.
Yes.
Elmer.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Okay, road committee. I would like to nominate Abby to be our road committee chair. Do I have a second?
I second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Oh, we got to do roll call.
Bigford.
Yes.
Lester, yes. Rorik.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Elmer.
Yes.
Mixed it up a little bit, Bryce. Things.
Okay, thank you.
She has the last name.
And so,
We're on a first name basis.
it's so we'll have some other appointments that may be necessary when they open, and what we need to do is get all of us a listing of those appointments when they expire, and so we have that to work with. Next on the agenda for new business is item D, MTA membership and training, and I'll let Abby, who has to put that on the agenda, talk about it.
Certainly. I have been really active in pursuing MTA, support, membership, training. I have some information on that I gathered from the MTA this week, today. To re-enroll would be $5,174.04, and that's based and calculated on taxable value. What they provide to us would be 45% less on publications and trainings. Their trainings are extensive, they're often, they're particular to specific need. They do not, I've had several questions about if they provide in-house training, to specific townships that they would come in, especially in a situation like ours. Right now, they don't provide that. They don't have the staffing. They've had lots of requests, but at this time they don't provide that. What they do provide is unlimited phone support, advice, not only on the statutes, but just what other townships have done in situations. Let's see, what else do I have to say about? I just think it's important. They advocate before state and federal lawmakers. They advocate for policies and legislation that are pro-local government. They help with questions on statutory requirements and provide, like I said, unlimited advice. So my position is that we join the MTA immediately, and there's a training for new officials on December 13. I know there's a lot of training for treasurer type duties coming up. I think that this is something that needs to go ahead.
Yeah, I think I agree for without question on the training and getting Little Red Books, which we want to order for everybody. The one question I have is this, and it's just strictly economical. So if we spend $5,100 a year and we save half of every training class and book, how many training classes and books are we buying, and does it justify spending $5,100 a year?
I think so. I've spoken with Mike and Larry at the MTA several times over the summer, recently, and where it saves money is in legal fees, really. I mean, and you can't quantify it, can't measure it, but if you're getting that free advice constant, as much as you need it, that you're going to save money with, other consultants, with legal fees, with specialists. That's where the savings comes from as well.
I have a question.
Because they got rid of that free legal day a long time ago.
Yeah, we were with MTA when I started back 10 or so years ago. We used to have a day where we could call and have a certified attorney on there would answer questions. My question is, can we get those classes even if we're not a member?
Yes.
It just costs you $45.
Right.
It costs you more.
And I take that back about them, and to clarify what I was saying, it's not legal advice. They can tell you what statutes to look up. They can point you in the direction. They can't give you actual legal advice. They can give you advice. They can tell you how other people have handled it, and they can tell you where to find the information.
Right. Do you recall, because I know we brought this up during the campaign, but what's the current percentage of Michigan townships that are in the
99%.
99? So we
There's
are the
1,240 townships in Michigan. We're one of 10 that are not members.
which begs the question, why are those 10 not the members? And
We're not always known to do what everybody else does either in this township.
I'm not either.
So just again, let me just ask the question again. I just want to make sure we understand the economics of this. So we have a budget for training right now. You guys can go to training. We can fund it. It's going to cost us more if we're not a member. Is there a chance we're going to go to 20 classes at $250 a piece? We're going to buy 50 books at? Because then you take that in half, and does it justify the $5,100? It's a simple. I just want you to think about that. Yeah, I'm open to it.
Did you want to table this till?
Well, what I want to do is make sure we don't need to approve. I think we sign everybody up for training right now. We have the ability. If you don't mind paying 40, whatever the more percentage right now to do that, while you think about this.
You've researched this, Abby. What's your thought about that?
I guess because I want that advice
Okay.
available at all times, and I think now more than ever we need it. I think we need to go forward with it now.
I think with a new board like we have, we really should go ahead and join. I really do.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that Saugatuck Township rejoin the Michigan Township Association as soon as we can.
I second that.
Any discussion?
I think we've had enough discussion.
We don't need a roll call vote for that. It's an expenditure. So all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No.
No.
Motion. Okay. Motion carried 4-1. Okay. Staffing analysis. I'm not sure who asked for this. Staffing analysis.
I think I might have.
Okay. Good.
No, I'd like
Why
to
not?
speak to the fact, and I know Becky brought this up, and I hope she's happy to know that this is high on our priority to-do list. And I want to, before I say that, just want to preface it. We've only been in office a week, but last Tuesday's election, we had record turnout in the township. We had an overwhelming vote to bring in 4 new board members. That is a mandate. The mandate is for change. Our slogan was working for you. Obviously, the people took that to heart, and I won't get into other details of all that we learned, but we learned so much because we spent hours and hours and hours meeting hundreds of people door to door, and we were getting unsolicited comments back, what people want, clearly, cumulatively, and yes, to who Donna said, there were a lot of reasons. Yeah. That's why this one's so big. There were numerous reasons, and we tried to articulate that. But back to the business at hand, because we're excited about it, and we heard the public. They want change. We had a landslide victory. Number 1 on my list, and we've already started on this. I started on this to a degree yesterday. We need to do, and will do, a complete comprehensive study of how the township government is organized. Who's on staff? Who's part-time? There may be even a volunteer in the office that I don't know about yet. And get input and advice. There's so much expert advice out there. Yes, internally people have been around here a long time, but sometimes there's an opportunity that should be taken to bring in fresh air, fresh ideas. So I don't know if we're going to vote on that today, but I've been talking to several consultants out there, some that have been used locally, others maybe have not. You can get consulting, as I said, the whole staff analysis, I'd like to see that done. But if we need other sort of specific consulting, there are treasurer consultants, there are management consultants, there are planning consultants. They don't have to be around for a long time. They don't have to be too expensive. Part of this whole analysis is I hope we collectively consider all those ideas because they can only help us. The longest term person who is, quote, an expert on everything, there's always room to learn things. There might be new ways to do things. But that's why I guess I want some action to let's move forward, decide who's going to make these initial connections, maybe bring some proposals in so we can weigh them.
Out of curiosity, what are you going to analyze?
A complete analysis of how our government staff is organized. And workload, because there have been questions. People have brought up. Can you mentioned combining the zoning administrator, with the manager?
Right.
I'd like to see some history of how that's been done in other townships. We know how many parcels we are. We're large. We're bigger than the 2 cities combined. I think ×2, and their structure is different for the hours and expectations and the remuneration of their manager. Let's get that information.
So you're suggesting we analyze the part-time staff that's here?
No,
All of us.
Everybody.
everybody, including all of us.
Okay.
And
Well, we need more information.
Yeah,
It's
I
something
mean,
we
you
can
might
act
be the only
on.
employee we have tomorrow.
right. Then we better do this analysis.
Well, that's assuming that you get your salary back.
Yeah, that's true.
Great idea.
But no, seriously, I'm saying like Bill, what exactly are we going to study? What are we proposing? I'd be happy to entertain proposals.
Perfect.
So let's
And I'm
appoint
just
John.
saying, does anyone want to help me do that?
Let's
No,
put you on
you're
point
back
to give us some facts and figures.
He who
John.
speaks first gets to do it.
Oh boy, okay.
Congratulations.
All right, so we're going to table
But
this.
don't tell me
then,
it doesn't count towards being paid for treasurer.
No, you do that on your statutory duty you're elected to do.
Okay, it's a hobby.
All right.
I motion we table this to the December meeting.
Table,
Table
well, I'm not
this
making a
discussion. We need more
recommendation.
information.
I
Can't vote on it.
don't think we need a motion to table, we'll just agree to table it.
Okay.
But we do
So be it.
agree to move forward, maybe getting some proposals in here and
I
having
would
some
agree,
people
and I don't think we
talk
need a
to us.
motion for that, right?
Right, I don't think so.
Sure.
Good.
Great, thank you.
Anything else on staffing?
Okay.
Okay, next is township manager. Is there a request to go into closed session for this portion of the discussion?
The employee has to ask for that, Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron acknowledged he'd like to go into closed session.
Also, Lori, would you like to join us in that closed session?
Yes.
Lori has also agreed to that.
So we have a motion to go into closed session with the agreement of the two employees that we're going to be talking about. So I would like to move that we move into closed session. And I need a second.
I'll support.
Take a roll call vote.
Bickford.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Rory.
Yes.
Helmrich.
Pass.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Aldrich. Did you say pass or yes?
I said pass. Yeah.
Pass? Okay, gotcha.
Or
Let the record
abstain.
show 4-1.
So we're going to go in another room. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. We will come out of closed session with a motion, and I'm not sure whether there will be anything decided after. But
There is a public
That's it,
comment
after
still on the agenda.
Well, we
If the
do,
public
you know,
stays.
somebody did, want us to do a public comment, should they do that before we leave?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
No,
About
that's
a
after,
different.
that's after the closed session.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that on the agenda. We will entertain public comments.
Okay, could be.
After we come
After we
back
come
from
back.
closed session. Closed session, there's no voting done in closed session, by the way. Okay.
For the members of the board, I'd like to make a motion, we come out of closed session and
I'll second that motion.
So the motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Let's take a roll call vote for that.
Okay. Bickford.
Come out of-
Yeah.
Just clarifying. Yes.
Wester, yes. Rory.
Yes.
Helmrich.
yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the next order of business, which is to entertain any other motions at this time before public comment.
I move to accept Aaron Sharon's resignation effective November 16th. He will receive full compensation through December 31st and will be available for consultation during that time period, which would be November 17th to December 31st.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'd like to thank Aaron for his generosity in resolving this situation, which is the best for all of us. There will be, just so you know, there will be a public hearing I'd like to announce right now, a public meeting on Friday, this Friday, November 16th at 3 o'clock to adopt or to accept the written terms of that resignation. Anybody else have anything else to add?
Now we still have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Bickford.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Rory.
Yes.
Helmrich.
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carried. Okay, let's move on now to public comments. Any public comments?
Tammy Jacoby, 328 Blue Star Highway in Douglas. I just like to address the board tonight and first say thank you for stepping up. But I also want to add some remarks regarding medical marijuana businesses in the township as it was brought up at the November 7th meeting and was addressed in a letter to the township. I'm asking the board, like you said you would do, to encourage the planning commission to go back to work on the issue. The recreational vote has passed and now municipalities are going to be required to opt out if they choose not to be involved in recreational sales. Just a quick update, in Saugatuck Township there was 1,200 people that voted yes for recreational marijuana and 769 that voted no. Pretty close to the numbers that you guys saw. City of Douglas, 520 yes, 254 no. And City of Saugatuck, 391 yes, 180 no. It's time to talk about this. The public needs to be heard on the issue. There are opportunities for the township and the people around us that should not be overlooked. Thanks.
Any other public comments? There being none, there's one more item for discussion. Does anybody want to say anything? No?
I do want to say one thing. People have been contacting me that the sand mine has been negligent in obeying rules, and I think we need to look into that.
Can I address that?
Yes.
So I had a meeting with the project manager for the sand mining operation. I contacted residents, Jane Dickey specifically, and another gentleman, asked them to put together a citizens group, and the sand mining manager and the citizens group will meet on a regular basis for the purposes of identifying problems. Now, we have enforceable ones that are part of the special use application that the zoning administrator can do. But that group then can, the project manager says we want to do everything we can to make sure there are no complaints. So if there's too much dust, they'll put more chloride down. If there's a perception of speeding, he's got monitors on the truck. So that process is starting. I just got agreement from the citizens group to get together, and Top Grade is all for it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other board comments? Good.
Just thank everyone.
Great.
We had a challenging first week.
It's been a long night. Thank you for coming.